to the cloud. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Granata Clark. Welcome to my Ergonomics and You podcast, talking about all things ergonomics and business. I'm an ergonomics specialist, and my company is Ergonomics and You. I provide ergonomic evaluations in your home or corporate office, and I also provide office ergonomic presentations in your corporate office, networking groups, businesses, and I'm providing lunch and learns. I conduct these evaluations virtually or in person. So this is my fourth podcast, and I'm honored to have Serafine Lillian joining me today, and her company is Ergoarts. We graduated together at San Jose State in California in the Human Factors and Ergonomics program. So Serafine, thank you for coming, and tell me a little bit about yourself personally.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kim. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, I know. We graduated, oh gosh, how many years? Like 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, 2004.
2004, I think I graduated. Yeah,
Yeah,
something
been a
like
long time.
that. It's been a long time. It's a great career being an ergonomist. Yes, I love it. I love that I get to help people and get to help to make their workstations more comfortable and to be, working in a more neutral position so that they don't have as many injuries. So I really enjoy doing what I'm doing. And I started out my career as a graphic designer, and I developed a repetitive strain injury from working on the computer so much. So I went back to graduate school and got myself retrained and have been doing ergonomics ever since. So one of the things that I love to do is to help graphic designers who have to do a lot of mousing and a lot of input devicing to do their creative talent. And so I really like to help that population because that's the population that I came from. And I'm originally from New York and born and raised in New York. And then I moved to California, and now I'm in Portland, Oregon. And I have my own business here doing ergonomic evaluations for companies in person and virtually. And I also am an artist. I'm a ceramic artist, and I do ceramic sculptures. Right now, I'm doing a series of elephants. I really love elephants, and I got a chance to go to Africa and to see them in the wild, and that was just an incredibly life-changing experience for me. And I really want to do something to help the elephants. There's huge issues with poaching and other man interventions that are causing the elephant population to decline. And I really want the elephant population to be here for the next generation of people to see them. So anyway, so I'm doing a whole series of little elephants, and looking for a gallery to show them.
I love it. I love it.
Oh
And
gosh.
oh shoot! Now the gardener is here. Perfect timing. um, Now I lost my train of thought. It was what I was going to say about. So you're a ceramic artist, and graphic artist. So what programs were you using when you did graphic artist, and what tools are you using when you do your work as a graphic artist?
Yeah, again, I haven't done graphic design in a long time. But when I was doing it, I used Illustrator. I used Quark Express. I don't even know. I don't even know if that's around anymore. But like one of the last things I did in New York was I actually taught at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology.
Mm.
And I was just teaching Illustrator. I think I was teaching Illustrator classes. Yeah, just teaching the students how to use the technology at the time. Yeah, and I used Photoshop a lot as well. So
Nice. And
for Illustrator and Photoshop, those were the three big softwares that I used at the time. Yeah.
And you can use it in ergonomics in that, you have to do flyers, and you have to do presentations and such. So I'm sure that comes back, and you're still able to use some of it. So
Yeah, the concept of, just how to organize a page, the design layout and things like that, and making sure that you don't have these weird colors, or that you have 25 different typefaces.
Hmm. So
Try
true.
to keep it limited, and yeah, so all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, still, yeah, it does come in handy to have that kind of background, as a business owner, to be able to do my own promotional pieces. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. So your presentation today is on home and remote ergonomics and a graphic artist turned ergonomic specialist. So go ahead and the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So, I don't know how many people are out there are working from home, but statistic wise, I don't really know the exact number, but I think that it probably at least 5% of the population is working from home, or people have small businesses and they're working from home. And it's like, what is your setup when you're working from home? So that's just as important as what your setup is when you're working in an office setting. It's really the same thing. You want to make sure that you have a chair that's adjustable to fit your body. You want to make sure that you have a desk that could be adjusted as well to fit your physique, to make sure that your hand and your arm positioning is in a neutral position. And then again, you want to make sure your monitor is in the right position. So what I find is a lot of people, when they're working from home, they're just using their laptop, and so that they're typing here, and then they're hunching over and looking at the monitor too low. So the big takeaway is you want to separate those two out. You want to get minimally like an external keyboard and a mouse and a monitor stand, and raise your monitor up. I remember, like, in the beginning of the pandemic, um, you know, our governor at the time was giving a presentation, and the monitor was so low you could see the inside of their nostrils. And
Oh,
I was
no.
like going crazy. I'm like typing everybody that I could. I'm like, you gotta raise that lady's monitor up. This is crazy. She's showing the world her nostrils over here, and nobody responded to me at the time. But that's a big thing to watch out for. If you can see, your nostrils, the monitor is is too low. So yeah, like the first step, even if you're just working off the kitchen table, is to get like external keyboard and a mouse, and to raise your monitor up. Even if you don't get a monitor stand, you can always just use books. Hopefully people still have some books in their house. And you could just put some books underneath your monitor to raise it up a little bit. So that's one thing that you can do. I also have a lot of tricks to teach people about how to just even use your kitchen chair in a more neutral position. I've done a couple of YouTube videos. It's Ergoarts is the YouTube channel, ERGOARTS. And there's a bunch of videos there that I did on creative uses with towels to be able to sit in a more neutral position. One of the things that you need when you're working, excuse me, on the computer, is you want to have some back support, in your chair. And a lot of the chairs are kind of curved like this, so it causes you to kind of hunch your shoulders forward. So one of the tricks that I teach people to do is to take, this is just you really want a bigger towel than this, but this is just a good for the screen towel. It's smaller. So I have people just make it really thin like this. Whoops. Get back here, you. Yeah, I have them make it really thin like this. And then what I have them do is to put it on the back of the chair, just from like the midpoint here, down, just like that. I mean, I don't need it on this chair, but if the chair was rounded, then this would provide some support for, the thoracic and the thoracic spine, and to try to keep that part of your body back so that you're not always, hunched over so much. So that's one thing that people can do, is just to put a towel like thin and long on the upper part of the chair. And I haven't found any kind of, anything like an Amazon product or anything that would do something like that. Do you know any product like that, Kim, that would do something like that?
I've seen some products that provide support, but it's too much. it's really protrudes into your back. It's not a gradual feel. It kind of protrudes in your back. So no, not necessarily. I mean, I'm usually looking at things to support your low back more than your mid back, but or your upper back, but no.
Right, exactly, like a lumbar support, which is something
Mm-hmm.
else that people could do, is to get a really good lumbar support. Um, I just find that a lot of the chairs, even if you get like an Office Depot office chair, that the backs kind of flare back too much. And so people are never gonna, because your spine is like this, and then the chair is back here. So it's like, well, if I put my spine all the way back there, then you're gonna kind of be like this. So that doesn't really work for a lot of people too. And so that's why the towel on the upper part fills in that space so that you can sit in a more upright position. So that's another use for the towel, is just in an inexpensive kind of office chair that you might get. So also you can get like cushions. Amazon does have like really good seat cushions. I always tell people to get like a wedge shaped cushion, so that it's higher in the back and lower in the front. And so when you sit on those kind of cushions, it helps to lift your hips up a little bit, and helps to create a more open angle between your hip and your lower body, so that you can sit in a little bit more of an upright position that way.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that helps too. And also, yeah, I mean, again, if you're just working off a kitchen table situation in the kitchen, for example, sometimes people's feet don't touch the ground. So, you can always just get a footrest, to rest your feet on. That could be helpful. And if you don't have a footrest, you can again take some books and just put your feet on some books. I know there's some religious people that don't want to put their feet on books, but there's other things that you can use to kind of support your feet. If you're going to take a box to put your feet on, you have to make sure that there's something in the box. You don't want to use an empty box, because then your feet are just going to go right through it. So yeah, empty boxes are also good for raising your monitor, but again, they have to be full. You can't use an empty box.
Mm-hmm. No
Yeah, so
accidents at your workstation.
yeah, we're trying to reduce the yeah, increase safety, reduce the
Mm-hmm.
risks. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, those are a couple of little tricks that people can do. Again, if you only have, let's say, a height adjustable chair, um, then because a lot of chairs will come and the seat pan and the backrest will be attached to one another, so that means that you can't really adjust them independently. And so yeah, I don't know if people like, even like the gaming chairs have like those sides on them, and that also, again, it really causes people to kind of hunch forward. So I don't understand the methodology behind those gaming chairs. Do you have any opinion on that one?
No, they're I think they're like you just said, they push you forward. There's a lot of um um segmented support. So I mean I'm assuming most um people that work that play video games, maybe they're leaning back. So they get the full support, but they round. So I'm assuming you're in here instead of more here. So
Exactly. Even in cars these days, I'm afraid to buy a new car because the side cushions come really far out now. And in my car, I put something in the center of it to kind of flatten it out. So
mhm,
it's not so round. And I'm 6 foot tall. And so for me to have to do that in my car means there's less space for me in the driver's seat, which
right.
really is problematic. And also the same thing with the headrests in the car. They're tilted more and more forward because of the head forward position. People have that head forward position a lot. And ideally you want to keep your ear and your shoulder lined up, because when your ear and your shoulder are lined up, then your head weighs about 12 pounds. If your head is just 15 degrees forward, then you've doubled the weight of your head on all of these muscles here. And then they have to work harder to support the bowling ball head. And then, okay, so now I'm just wandering around here. So sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
And so like people are looking at their mobile phones, and so they're kind of looking like this at their mobile phones, and that also causes a lot of neck and upper back issues. So I always tell people have your elbows close to your body and radiate the phone up towards your body so it's close to you. Keep your head over your neck and just radiate your eyes down to look at the monitor that way instead of kind of doing that kind of position as well. And one of the chiropractors told me that there's actually, can't remember what kind of tissue it is, so don't quote me on this one. I don't know if it's muscle or a tendon or whatever that's actually growing at the base of people's necks because the head and neck is forward in so many positions nowadays that the body can't take it anymore. So it's actually adapting by growing some tissue back here to
Mhm.
support the head and the neck. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, our technology is changing our anatomy. It's kind of
Yes.
scary there.
And there's text neck, that we've heard about.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's basically what I'm talking about is that text neck position. So, keeping that ear and shoulder lined up, and just nodding the head down. Because when you nod the head down and you're saying like yes to the world, you still have your ear and your shoulder lined up. But again, that head and neck forward position is really, really, oh my gosh, it's so challenging. I've been working for years myself trying to make sure I keep my head over my shoulder. And it's a constant, continual reminder, and again, that's one of the things about ergonomics is that we teach people to change habits, right? And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, it would be so great for like your kids or children to learn ergonomics at a young age so that they can carry those principles with them for their entire life instead of getting in their 20s and starting their office job and already having those bad habits
Mhm.
and then somebody coming along if they're lucky enough to get an ergonomic evaluation in their 20s, to say, hey, you got to do it and you want to have your more upright body position. They already have those habits installed upon them from high school, college. All those working off the laptops is really, really hard on the body. And it's not that bad on their bodies because their bodies are younger, but one day they're going to hit 30
Mhm.
and they're going to realize that their bodies are not as flexible anymore, right, Kim?
Mhm. That's right. That's right. Mhm.
And then the aches and pains start coming in.
That's right.
So that's why it's better to be, again, ergonomics is a preventative tool to keep healthy people healthy, ideally. And of course, we can help people with discomforts, but our goal is to keep healthy people healthy. So if we, can get those high school or even college students to develop good habits, then they can carry those habits forth with them
Right.
for the rest of their career.
Mhm.
So anyway, so we talked a little bit about the chair. Feet to make sure that your feet are supported. Either get some books or a footrest if your feet are not flat on the ground. If your feet are flat on the ground, you don't necessarily need to have a footrest. And then to make sure that when you're sitting in whatever chair you're sitting in, that you have your hips a little bit higher than your knees to have that open angle. And we talked about, if the chair does not go high enough for you to get like a cushion, um, a wedge shaped cushion to kind of lift your hips up a little bit and to create more of that open angle. And then we also talked about the upper back support, using a towel to try to help, um, get the upper back to maintain that neutral posture. You have three curves in your spine, one in the neck, one by your rib cage, and one in your lower back. And so it's ideal to make sure that all three of those curves are maintained. So that's why either you want to get a chair that's going to provide you that support, or using what you have, getting some cushions. Now, if you get that seat pan cushion on the chair, then sometimes the lumbar support that's built in the chair is too low. So that's one of the issues with just putting the seat cushion on the chair. So there's pros and cons to everything.
Mhm. Yeah. And we don't want to go into static postures like we talk about in ergonomics that you want to, keep your cell phone up higher. You don't want to be, being in this position here. But we as ergonomists don't want us to be in that position all the time. You need to also remember to break, take a break, pull the cell phone down, look around, and then go back to that position because we're telling everyone, oh, we got to stay in this position. But the key is you need to still take a break. You still need to break from that good posture and go back to, it again.
Yeah, yeah. Ergonomists say your next position is your best position. You want to
Yes.
you want to keep moving around. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Yeah, there's a whole study done on, oh gosh, I forgot which website it was, about micro breaks, and this was kind of in industrial settings and how productivity, health, and all these things increased by people taking micro breaks. And micro breaks are basically 2 to 3 second breaks. So when people are typing, I always tell them to rest in between tasks. So when you're not actually typing, when you're thinking, when you're waiting for the computer to catch up to you, when you're reading the screen, when you're talking to somebody, all those are good reasons to take your hands off the keyboard. People tend to keep their hands on the keyboard even when they're not actually typing. And so you're giving those seconds away and you get that, but those are your seconds and you can take them and say, those are mine and I'm going to rest my hands and just kind of rest them in a neutral position. And a neutral position of your hand and wrist is if you just drop your hand at the side of your body and just shake it out a little bit, that's your neutral hand and wrist position. So that's the position that you want to, rest your hand in if you're not actually physically typing and mousing. So that's just a little tiny micro break, and that's just for your hands. But ideally, from an ergonomic perspective, we say at least every half an hour, you want to get up and take like a 1 minute movement break. And if you're working for 8 hours, that's 16 times a day you need to get out of your chair. And I like to
That's
say that number 16 because it's a big number and people are like, what, 16 times? So, like it's a good to think about that number because even if you don't get up 16 times, even if you get up 10, hey, that's better than nothing, right? So, people are like, oh, I get up every hour or two. And I'm like, yeah, you really want to do it a little bit more often than that. And again, we're not talking about taking 10 or 15-minute breaks every half an hour because then you won't get any work done. We're just talking about taking like a 1 minute movement break. Get up, go get some more water, sit down again. You drink enough water, you have other reasons to get up. So,
Yes.
so stay hydrated.
Yes, exactly. I like the concept that I like the wording that you said, nodding to the world. When you're setting yourself up with your laptop, your tablet, your cell phone, you're kind of moving your head to get yourself ready to, do your task. I like those words, nodding to the world.
I always say yes to the world, right? Like,
That's true also. Yep.
I'm
Yep,
like, oh, no,
exactly.
yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. That's a good exercise. No.
That's a good exercise too, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Exercise turn.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Neck turns are excellent. Yes.
Can you talk about standing at your workstation when you're at home and what, maybe some ideas on what we can do when standing?
Yeah. So if you're going to stand, you really want to make sure that you have an electronic sit stand desk. I'm not a real fan of those tabletop sit stand
Oh
desks.
yeah,
I'm not really sure what your opinion of those are.
I'm not either.
Yeah, sorry. In my opinion, I don't think they're worth the material that they're made out of. Um, and again, the price of a sit stand desk has gone down dramatically. And the tabletops actually are more expensive sometimes than a sit stand desk nowadays. So again, do not get a tabletop. Please do not do that. Get an electronic desk. And if you do get one, you really want to make sure that it's a 3-tiered desk. They sell those that are 2-tiered. They only go down to maybe 28, sometimes 29 inches. And for women, especially, that may not be low enough for you to type in a neutral position. So it's really important if you are going to get a sit stand desk that you get one that's 3-tiered. That will go down low enough. And before you get a sit stand desk, it's really important to know what your elbow height is to make sure that the desk is going to go down low enough. And most likely it's going to go up high enough for you. They usually go up high enough for, I would say, 95% of the population, unless you're like 6'4" or above, then that's the only reason that you would really have to pay attention to what those numbers are for the standing end. That's kind of what I found anyway. So yeah, so when you stand, you want to make sure your feet are about hip distance apart. You want to make sure your kneecaps are soft. When your kneecaps are soft, you're standing on your muscles. When your kneecaps are locked, you're actually standing on your bones.
Mm.
So you really want to stand on the muscles. So keep the kneecaps soft. You don't have to bend your knees, but you want to just keep those kneecaps a little soft and relaxed. And then once in a while, you want to move from the hips as if you have a drink and you're a little tipsy. That's what I always tell people.
That's good. That's good.
Because again, like you said before, Kim, standing is a static position, sitting is a static position. The
Yes.
goal is to move your body and to increase the movement. So
Mhm.
that's what standing does. It gives you an alternate posture, but it's still a static position. So it's
Mhm.
up to you to remember to move your body around a little bit.
Mhm.
So yeah, and so when you're standing, so the only difference between sitting and standing position is the position of your legs. Everything else is going to be the same. Your elbow height and your eye height are not going to change between sitting and standing. The only thing that's going to change is the position of your legs. So in my own sociological study of doing 20,000 ergonomic evaluations, when people are sitting, they're typing too high. And when people are standing, they're typing too low.
Exactly. Yeah.
So again, keeping that shoulder and the elbow aligned is really important. And you really want to make sure that you're typing with your forearm about parallel to the ground. So you're typing like right around here. Again, you don't want your arms to be abducted out to the sides. You don't want your arms to be reaching forward. You want to make sure that your elbows stay close to the side of your body
Yes.
when you're typing and mousing. And so one of the little tricks that I have people do is, let's see, you can see my keyboard here. So if I sit sideways, right, and my elbows are close to the side of the body, when I turn my body, whoops, I just want my fingers to kind of fall right underneath the keyboard, right? So that's kind of a little trick that I teach people, right? If the desk
Nice.
is too high, right, then right, then I'm hitting. So the desk is not at the right height. And if the desk is too low, let's see if I can do that without destroying my legs. If I go like this, right, see, then I have to
Yeah.
go down. And so again, you want to
Nice.
just kind of keep that forearm parallel to the ground and just kind of turn and have the desk kind of be right underneath your fingertips.
Mhm.
So not rocket science, but you want to just make sure that you're in that neutral position when you're doing that, and you just turn your body. So that's a good way to do that, sitting and standing. And if you do have an electronic sit stand desk, you can then program it in for the sitting and the standing heights. And a lot of them, you just press the button, let's say number 1, and it'll go to the sitting position that you programmed in there. You don't have to worry about what the numbers are all the time. As once you get the desk set up in the correct height for your specific anthropometrics.
Right. So we
So
need to adjust the chair first. You need to adjust the chair to your sitting height where, I mean, you to adjust your chair first and then adjust the desk height. Because if you're used to sitting high up in the chair, or you're used to sitting low, you need to have that desk go to the right height to your elbow height.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, we always start with the chair. We always start with the feet on the ground, and then we work our way up the body. So yeah. So that's why we talked about the chair first, and then the desk height.
That's true. That's true.
And yeah, and so basically for standing, um, so what Cornell University suggests is that you stand for 20-30 minutes. Sorry, forget that, scratch that. You sit for 20-30 minutes, and then you stand for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then you take a 2-minute movement break. So you're revolving around an hour. So every hour, you're changing your position. And you don't have to do that. You can just stand once in the morning and once in the afternoon. But what you don't want to do is stand in the morning and then sit in the afternoon, because those are two static positions and you're not changing your body. So the beauty of having an electronic sit stand desk and having it programmed is that it's easy to change from a sitting to standing position on a regular ongoing basis so that you're not stuck in one position. Excuse me.
Mhm.
And then like if you're on a call, like even like a Zoom call like this that's an hour long, you could in the middle of the call just change your desk height and just go from sitting to standing.
Mhm.
So that's something that you can certainly do as well. And if people do have to do a lot of video calls in some way or another, then sometimes what I tell people to do as well, sit for one meeting and then stand for the other meeting so
Mhm.
that you can
Mhm.
alternate your posture a little bit.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because that's really the goal. The goal is to get more movement into the static nature of doing a lot of computer work, which
Mhm.
is the challenge. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And you discussed about tabletop workstations. The reason why a lot of us don't agree with that is majority of the time the tabletop device goes down, it lands on the work surface and doesn't go any lower. And our elbow height for keying height is lower than our elbow height for writing and doing things. So and when it goes down to the tabletop height, it's still 2 inches, 3 inches higher than the work surface height. So if you could find a tabletop height that actually the keyboard tray lowers lower than the
Below the
workstation
desk.
height below the desk, then you got
Yeah.
it. You're
Yeah.
good.
I
So
don't
there
know.
are
I
devices
don't
out
think
there.
they make those anymore. Well, I think maybe they do. But anyway,
Just one
yeah.
manufacturer I know that does that.
Yeah. 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 That's an excellent point. And that's one of the reasons why Kim and I don't really like the tabletops is because most of them just sit on top of the table and they cause you to type and mouse too high when you're sitting and they only have an 18-inch range and they're usually too low for when you're standing. So
Hmm.
again, not worth the material they're made out of.
Right, exactly. And then also, I believe you can just buy the base to go underneath a workstation. So if you wanted to use a mahogany block, you could put a base under it and raise up that. Or just buy the whole device together, the desk and the base. But I think majority of the time we both recommend the desk itself. We don't recommend the base unless a client really wants to keep their tabletop or they want to keep their desk that they have. So.
The other big problematic thing that I see is that people get desks and then the desk will have a 3 or a 5 inch lip on it.
Oh yeah.
Those are deadly because that means so for what we're talking about when we're talking about keeping the elbows close to the body when you're typing and mousing, that means that there's only a certain amount of space between the top of your thigh and the bottom of your arm. And ideal and usually some people don't have any space. Some people's arms actually land right on the top of their lap, so they have no space at all there. At most, I've seen maybe 3 inches of space. So if you have a 3 to 5 inch, lip on the side of your table, that means you're going to like destroy your thighs and your arms are going to be either abducted or reaching to get to the keyboard and the mouse. So those are terrible. So you don't want to get any desks that have a drawer in the front, like a pencil drawer kind of thing. No, 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 no. Pencil drawers are great on the side,
Mhm.
not in the front where you're going to be sitting,
Mhm.
because it's only going to destroy your neutral position, your ability to get into a neutral position.
Mhm.
So those are also really, really terrible. And I know during the pandemic, there were so many people that bought those desks and I'm like, sorry, you got to take that pencil drawer out. But I like the way it looks. I'm like,
Mhm.
well, it's your choice. You go for your looks or you go for your physical health.
Right.
No, really,
Right.
those are your choices. And that's a lot with the chairs these days is that it's, form over function. And it's like from our perspective, it's got to be function over form, which is, why I really like the chair that I have because it's got a nice straight backrest and it allows me to get a full upper and lower back support because the back doesn't flare back on my chair like it does in so many of the chairs these days. Yeah, and I know that there's a whole school of study that says leaning back in the chair like that can relieve lower back pressure. But what about the upper back? And what about the neck? Because if you're like this, if you're going to keep your spine in neutral, then you're going to be looking like up there at the ceiling. So that means
Mhm.
you have to put your head and neck down again. And are you leaning then forward? Are you able to keep it back like that to kind of do that? But that means you're in this, slightly awkward position all day long to look at the computer. Whereas if you could sit in a more upright position, then your head and neck are more aligned.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so again, I know there's two fields of studies in ergonomics, one that believes that the leaning back is better. I'm not in that school of thought.
Mhm.
What about you, Kim? What is your
No, I think it should be straight up. I think not have the leaning back, and there are many chairs that have the lumbar mid back support and then it goes away from you. So I prefer straight up, straight down. And then you can angle the backrest, but aesthetically they look nice, but functionally not so nice on our bodies.
right, functionally? Yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you discuss lighting in your if people are working in their bedrooms? Because a lot of people working from home now they've set up a desk in their bedroom. Do you discuss lighting?
I don't
I
really
I
do a
I
lot about
can
lighting. Do you
neither
talk
do
about
I.
lighting?
Not too much. I mean, I always wonder like, should we have task lighting? Maybe it's something that we both can look at a little bit later, something like have some task lighting in your office, in your bedroom, because the lighting in your bedroom might not be as um, best for our eyes when we're working on the computer.
Yeah, and then people that are on a lot of video calls, I know they have a light that's like right around the monitor,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of make sure that when they're on screen,
Right,
they
right. A
look
ring
they
light.
look better, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, but when you're typing and mousing, having a light around your screen is probably not a good idea
Mm-hmm.
to have. I've been doing a lot of research because I have so many sleep issues about blue light and our circadian rhythm. So that is something that I would recommend is that try to make the screens more yellow
Mm-hmm.
so that you're not getting as much blue light in your eyes. And especially like an hour before bed, you don't want to be looking at your screens because you want to give your body a chance to kind of wind down and go into its natural process so that you could actually sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
So I know for me, all of my screens, my phone and my computer screen, I don't have the blue light on at all. I mean, I have a Mac, and so I have Flux, which is the software, and I just set it so that it's yellow all the time.
So on the computer, it's a setting on our computers, right? In the display section, right? To put on a night light or put on even generally, you can reduce your brightness, change the backgrounds and stuff like that. It's in our settings, right?
Yeah, it is. It's in the settings to make it more yellow. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because yellow apparently is better. I mean, there's still blue light emitting from any kind of technology, phone, even our light bulbs, they
Hmm.
they said you can't have incandescent bulbs anymore, and now all the LED bulbs are all blue light. So
Yeah.
anyway, as a person that struggles with sleep, I have to really look for light bulbs that are not going to do that.
Yes, yes. Few and far
Uh,
between, maybe.
yeah, but if you are like working in your bedroom, like Kim was talking about, then you want to make sure you don't set up your workstation right in front of the window. Ideally,
Yeah.
you want to be 90 degrees from a window.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and some bedrooms might have windows on two walls. And so then you might have to close the blinds on one of them. So the reason that you want it 90 degrees from a window is so that you don't get glare. Like if it was facing the window, then you would get glare in your eyes from the sun and you wouldn't be able to see the screen. And if your back was to the window, then the sun might hit the screen and provide glare on your screen as well. So that's why we always say be 90 degrees from a window. And that's how I have it set up in my office. I have my window over there so that I can take my little eye breaks and look outside the window
Hmm. Hmm.
and not have the glare in my eyes, still be able to keep my blinds open. I'm in Portland, so it's not sunny here all the time.
Ray.
Yeah, we have a lot of gray skies here. Yeah, the sun is there, it's just behind the clouds.
But the point is looking away and taking the distance, changing the distance from you to the monitor, from you to the window and outside the window.
Exactly. We have 6 muscles in each of our eyes, and our eyes are meant to look at a three-dimensional world and not a two-dimensional screen. So when you look out the window, because it is glass, it's another two-dimensional screen. So you really need to focus on things out the window, like focus on a leaf on a tree that's close to you, and then a tree that's maybe on the other side of the street. I'm into
Mm.
having people look at the green. I think green is healthy.
Green is healthy.
I don't know for sure, but it makes me feel better for sure.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
All
S
good information. Any
yeah.
last points?
Um, yeah, I mean, about lighting, you don't wanna have a light, like if you're in, like, office settings that, you don't wanna have a direct light. Indirect light is always better. Light that kind of goes around and radiates around that way is better than having a light that goes directly down on you. So that's something else to keep in mind as well. I have, like, a
Love
little
it.
task light on the side here that helps me. So that's what I do.
Very
Yeah,
good. Well,
yeah.
all great information. So thank you so much. I believe we have one person online. And Melody, do you have any questions for Serafine? I know Melody, we know Melody because she's also a fellow ergonomist and she's in California doing ergonomics. I'm from California also, so I then moved out here to Florida about 4 years ago. So, Melody, do you have anything you want to discuss?
No, I enjoyed listening to you guys. Thank you. Seraphine, always some good information.
Mm-hmm.
Always good. I love the standing part
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
about
thank
not
you.
being static because I think people forget and they think in standing, then that's all you do. But standing and static isn't any better than sitting in static. So I'm in agreement with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yay, we're all in agreement here. Now
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
we just gotta get people to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not asking for people to do it for long periods of time, just enough to answer a phone or talk to a coworker or just take a break or. And
Dog.
I personally have stood up in a meeting because I get tired of sitting. If your meetings are back to back or I stand up. And so I never know if I should just stand up and let the device come to me or I bend and wait for it to come with me. So,
Yeah,
but
I
I've
know.
personally
Or
done
you
that.
could maybe turn your video off for like a 30 seconds and then turn it back
Good
on. I
idea.
don't
Good
I don't know.
idea.
I don't know what the correct PC way of changing your desk position is. I know I've done that. I'm like slowly raising my desk and standing, like getting a little taller. It is a little funny to do it.
I do that too, yes. But yeah, I mean, what do they say? Sitting is the new smoking. Because we just it's a habit. We sit a lot.
Yeah, we do. We sit a lot. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so make sure you don't play video games in your free time, people. Go outside.
Go see the green.
Go outside. Hug a tree. No.
Oh gosh.
I know.
Something else other than sitting at your workstation, right?
Right.
Yeah, very good. All right. Well, thank you so much for Seraphine for being on this call and just being on this podcast. And if anyone has any questions, I will be putting all her information in the description. And if you need to reach out to her, she is you provide ergonomic evaluations in Oregon, right? You don't do it
I do virtual
outside.
ergonomics and I do live ones in Oregon in the Portland metro area,
Okay.
Vancouver,
Okay.
Washington. Yeah, that area I do ergonomic evaluations for. Yeah, my website's www.ergoarts.net. And yeah, and I'm available to teach classes, to do individual ergonomic evaluations, live and virtual. Yay.
So if any of you live in Oregon, have friends in Oregon, and could use an ergonomic evaluation or presentation about ergonomics, please reach out to Seraphine to get that done. So
Yeah, and
thank you,
thank you
everyone.
so much, Kim. I really
You're
appreciate you
welcome.
doing this, and thanks for inviting me to talk on here. And I hope this was helpful for people.
I'm sure it was. Very good. Very
All
good. Well,
right.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, everyone. See you
Have a good
later.
rest of your day. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.